discussion. It's important, and this discussion is a hybrid from many theorists. Simone de Beauvoir, her work was influential. Judith Butler, her work was influential. The list goes on and on. So, this lecture isn't from just one particular group of feminists. It's sort of a collection of many different feminist thinkers that I've sort of boiled down into one discussion. Okay. The question and the thing that I want to address first is the idea of embodiment. So the question is, what is embodiment? What is embodiment? What does it mean to say that you are embodied? Well, embodiment, if you've never been introduced to the term, I'm sure you can figure out what it is just by the word itself. Embodiment is an account of our physical being, right? This physical body that makes up who I am, Jason. More specifically, the physical embodiment of a woman, or men and women. In this attempt to describe what embodiment is, it's important to know one of the hallmark foundational theories that describe embodiment. And not only describe embodiment, but associate embodiment with both the idea of sex and gender. And this theory is known as gender essentialism. Gender essentialism. Gender essentialism basically says the following. It is a recognition that we have an exclusive, mutually exclusive set, right? You have those people who are embodied as male and those people who are embodied as female. So the argument is for the gender essentialists that you can either be a man or you can be a woman, right? You can either be a man or you can be a woman. You cannot both be a man and a woman at the same time, right? The gender essentialist theory in its traditional form does not have or make accommodations for an individual who classifies him or herself as both being male and female at the same time, right? You are either a man or you are a woman. What's important to understand, however, is since we're starting to understand what embodiment is, the next question becomes, well, what is gender? What is it to talk about gender? What is it to say that I have a particular gender? And here's where the vast amount of confusion comes in. The largest confusion in both male and female populations is a confusion in the attempt to explain what gender is. I've listened to many people discuss gender. Most of them discuss gender in wrong terms, and hopefully what you'll have at the end of this lecture is a clear understanding on exactly what gender is. When we talk about gender, you'll have, if I've been successful in this lecture, a better understanding, an accurate understanding of exactly what gender is. In order to do that, though, we need to talk about our biology, right? So this is where the discussion might get a little frank. So if you're under the age of 18, I guess, you need to get parents' permission to listen to the rest of this lecture, right? All right, so now assuming that everyone is grown watching the lecture, there's that classic scene in Kindergarten Cop. And Arnold Schwarzenegger comes into the classroom filled with kindergartners, and a young boy, if I remember correctly, is asked, what are boys and girls? What are men and women? And the young boy responds with a gender essentialist claim. He says, boys have a penis and girls have a vagina. It's that simple, right? Boys have a penis and girls have a vagina. So that we recognize that males have a penis. Right? Males have a penis. And obviously girls have a vagina. Right? Males have a penis, girls have a vagina. When we're talking about gender essentialism, the discussion on penis and vaginas, breasts and ovaries and so on and so forth, our gonads, our physical sex, is not to talk about our gender, so that we can talk about sex. Right? We can talk about sex and this person's sex is male, right? And this person's sex is female, right? So this person is sexed as a male, this person is sexed as a female, right? The next thing to realize is that when we're talking about individual sex, the sex of a person corresponds to this person's biology, right? So that corresponds to the person's biology. Right? This person is biologically female, this person is biologically male, so that when we talk about sex and we invoke the terms male and female, we are talking about the individual's biology. That is not to talk about someone's gender, right? So if someone says her gender is female, the person is misspeaking. If the person says his gender is male, the person is misspeaking, right? The person's sex is female, the person's sex is male, right? Gender is something different, right? And this should be obvious now. When we're talking about someone's gender, we say that this person's gender is a man, right? This person is a man. And we say that this person's gender is a woman. So that a person's gender is a woman, but her sex is female, and a person's gender is a man, but his sex is male. Now, unlike someone's sex being determined by someone's biology, someone's gender is not determined by someone's biology. That's the most important part to recognize, right? And I don't think there's any disagreement in this. Someone's sex is determined by someone's biology, but someone's gender is determined sociologically. Right? Someone's gender is determined socially, someone's sex is determined by one's biology. So that we are socially men and women, we are socially men and women, we are biologically male and female. We are biologically male and female, right? So that our gender is socially constructed, and we'll get into that in a second, and our sex is determined by our biology. Now, in order to make sense of the gender essentialist claim, right? So now we understand what gender is, right? There shouldn't be a question mark anymore, because now you have an understanding of what gender is. In discussing the next part of this, it's important to recognize how we come to give a meaning to gender, right? We understand what it is, but in order to ascribe meaning to gender, so the question is, what does gender mean? What does gender mean? What does it mean to say that you're talking about someone's gender? It's important to note the following. A person, under gender essentialist claims, a person who is biologically male, has the gender of being a man. So that as far as the gender essentialist is concerned, a person's gender is determined by the person's biology, right? It's determined by someone's biology, and not directly, right? So that if I am biologically male, so if the person is biologically male, if the person is biologically male, his gender, we'll put it, he is gendered, he's gendered as a man. And then conversely, if the person is biologically female, she is gendered as a woman.